Well, Kotlin is the youngest language. Not by far. Well, it's actually a little bit. I think they are 12 years now, but yeah, Rust is came out a year later than Kotlin. Earlier. Yeah. And some numbers for those of you interested, maybe almost 5 million users total last year. And it's the second most popular language on the JVM. Those of you who use, is there anyone using Kotlin who doesn't like Kotlin? Right. We can agree on that. And I think there's many things saying that Kotlin is here to stay, right? Kotlin choosing, Google choosing Kotlin for Android, I think really boosted the language. But we have AWS buying in now with like the idiomatic SDK. Kotlin multi-platform is coming. So I think there was something around Facebook last year. Anyways, there's more and more, industry traction around the language. So a few compelling use cases, the reasons why I like Kotlin. There's many other reasons, but I'm going to tell you the ones that I like the most. And remember, I'm a developer advocate. What that means is I'm not so good at programming anymore, but there's some things that I really like for example, the lack of ceremony, right? I don't like to have, and especially there's also no lombok. I don't know if you can see that. That's also nice. But yeah, when you can go from these to these, not only is it shorter, but it's also more expressive to have something like this, but you don't have to dive into the language, you just see what the value is. Another obvious case is concurrency. Again, I'm going to expect you to kind of all understand, but coroutines is one of the big features of Kotlin. Really make the whole async story very easy. And even then, okay, we are having Project Loom coming soon, they say, but Java is still more verbose, even if they're doing a lot of progress. Same story with functional programming. It looks much better than it was pre-Java 8, but we still have a lot of work to do. Compared to Kotlin, you can read everything. You have the return directly. You have the access to the it keyword, right? You can do 3D interpolation. A lot of goodies that are actually making things not only easier to write, but also easier to read, I think. And the you of tomorrow is actually thankful already. And the last one, my favorite, personally. The sealed classes, right, coming from Elm, I don't know, like when you use this kind of structure with the return when, then you know that you have, basically tried every single thing that can happen, right? You will never end up in a situation where you don't know, you're not going to get an null pointer exception, not going to get any kind of unexpected case. It's beautiful. Right, so, okay, I'm a Java guy. I wanted to start doing Kotlin. How do I do it? I'm going to right-click on one of my pojos and say convert Java file to Kotlin. And that's literally how we did it back in the time.
That's the first.
Because you can even see still ING stuff. So right-click, and then IDEA IntelliJ is going to tell you, oh, do you want to add the Kotlin stuff to Maven? Sure. And it's like, oh, I see Kotlin into Maven now. Do you want to install Kotlin maybe? Sure. And you're ready. I mean, that's basically all there is. Literally, you can try. And I think we did that on a Thursday afternoon at 4:30, something like that. And half an hour later, we were on production with the Pojo. And now the work begins, right? We finished the first 80%. Now we have the rest, the last 80%. So again, there's a lot of people we have to convince to go through that, right? Colleagues, security compliance, those are big ones depending where you work. Anyone working in banks here? All right, a few of them. So I don't have to convince you. Management's also a big one, right? You can have to have support from management to go further. So we're gonna go a little bit through the layers. I don't expect, don't think about this talk as it's an enumeration, right? You don't have to pick everything, but just pick what you like. Maybe one works better than the other. For us colleagues, they were kind of looking for something new because Java 8 couldn't go further. So we're like, okay, you know what? Let's do that together for fun. Let's take some lunches, do the Kotlin for Java developers track, this Coursera thing. And I think the first one, you kind of have to know more than your colleagues, right? If you come and say, let's use Rust, and what's Rust? I don't know, I haven't tried yet. You kind of have to have done some homework and also realize that you will not know everything, right? So I think one of the mistakes that I see quite a bit is when people want to introduce something new, they don't know everything just yet, but they kind of like try to minimize and try to dodge the bullet. It's probably better to say, I don't know, give me a few days, I'll try to look at it. How do we handle Lombok? How does it work? Well, okay, I haven't tried yet. Let's look at it. It creates less doubt in people, right? They're going to be less doubtful if you basically don't take them like idiots, right?
Yeah.
That's you, huh?
I think that's me.
Go for it.
Yeah, so we, I mean, when you've tried Kotlin, of course, you know that it's objectively better. But still, you have to take into account the other people that haven't tried it. So if you never tried something, you don't know about it, you also cannot know if it's better or not. And also keep in account that many of your colleagues are just fine with Java. It works, right? They know what to do. I mean, they're settled with it. So also please respect those people. Anyway, for us, for Julien and me, and at ING, we needed to find a way to bring Kotlin under the attention. I mean, we can talk to people, see how great it is, and then still people, I don't know about it. So we needed to, find a tool in order to market it, to at least let people try it one time. And that tool was the Advent of Code. So what we did is we created a leaderboard. We organized the Advent of Code for basically the whole department, or I think whole ING at least. Very large set of engineers were invited. I think we had a couple of hundred engineers on the Advent of Code board. And in our email communication, we told them, hey guys, you want to join the Advent of Code? Why don't you try Kotlin, right? It's this new great language. It's not like Scala, it's not like Groovy. Don't be afraid, right? Don't get that trauma going. And then again, with other communications, when we're talking to people on the work floor, what did you try in Java? Why not Kotlin? I mean, this is a good opportunity to try something new, right? At the end of the day, when people were solving the puzzles, I said, okay, look at this one-liner, this perfect one-liner in Kotlin. How did you do that in Java? Yeah, so by using the Advent of Code, we got a lot of marketing for the language. And that really helped us for the next step, and which I think was the hardest step. And that was convincing the security department and the compliance department of introducing a new language. And I think on all large organizations, apart from generating money, I think losing money is the most important. Not losing money is the most important thing, and that's about keeping your risk low, about being safe. And when you're gonna say we have this great new language, managers will start to freak out. What is it? Can we control it? We don't know what it is. Are we gonna have bugs? Are we gonna have security issues? So this is really scary for those departments. And then again, we had the trauma of some other JVM languages like Scala, which it really took ages to be accepted at a broader scale at ING. So what we did, Julien and I, we went to the security department, and we said we want to use this language. We love it so much. We think it's a great replacement for Java. It's the interoperability is great. You can just put your classes next to the Java classes. No problem at all. It's safer. No null pointer exceptions anymore. Then they came with these questions. Does it run in the security tooling? Does it run in Fortify? We couldn't answer any of those questions with yes. So then they asked, how do you want to support it? How do you want us to support it? That's a good question. So we actually did a lot of work in giving them that proof. We built some code bases with intentionally vulnerable applications. We let it run through Fortify, we let it run through other tools, but we also let it run through some security scanners that did support Kotlin. One of those was FindSec bugs. And then we put those results together next to each other, and we said, look, it's at least as good as Fortify and check marks. And so they started, getting us a bit of leeway, and also because of the Advent of Code contenders who were just made enthusiastic for Kotlin, they got a lot of more requests from other teams. And they said, I tried Kotlin at the advent of code. Is it also possible to use it in our team? So the pressure came from many sides. It came from the teams. It came from us. We did a lot of lobbying as well. So we built this POC with vulnerable code, scanned by multiple security tools. One was supporting Kotlin. They said that's fine. Together with some manual pen testing, in the end they said, okay, let's give it a go. You as first team, you can try Kotlin. You can use Kotlin as a supported language. And then, the security department, they want to help you, right? They want to support you, but you have to give them the facts. You have to give them the ammunition so they can call up higher management and say, look, it's tested, it's clean, we can use it. So be helpful, give solutions. Not say, I want this, but say, I want this, and maybe I can help you with this by doing that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So one thing you didn't mention that helps is having a former pen tester in the team.
We had a secret weapon, yeah. Yeah, it was a bit easier talking to my former colleagues.
But I like when you say giving solutions, what Ilke did at the time is he actually literally went in their wiki and wrote the page on, this is how you support Kotlin. And then he went to them and says, are you okay with that? Because I wrote that in your base. And they're like, sure, okay. So that helped
cheated a little bit.
Yeah.
Not too much.
No, but it's not cheating, right? Okay, so security is convinced, your colleagues are okay with it, they're excited, they're behind you. Now you kind of have to convince management, right? And management is meant at different levels, right? From I want to go to production to my boss is talking to me about this new language and they see me as a risk, to the CTO and all of that. At all levels, you have a lot of people above you who see you as a risk now. One thing that really worked for us was the idea of a small experiment. Like, if you remove the risk, it helps a lot. So you say, you know what, we're going to make it contained, risk-free, it's just us. We're going to make it so that it can revert at any point in time, and it's going to be cheap because it doesn't have any overhead. So those three together means, okay, I'm not going to be running in trouble because of that team. And also, why not? There's no reason for you to say no at this point because it's just, you can go back, doesn't cost time, doesn't cost money, doesn't influence the stream. So this idea of a Pojo was really powerful because it's just like, we're done already, so just let us try it. And I think this is really for me important because I think that I've seen so many experiments fail because of that. People really want to try something, they get an approval from whoever is above them, they try, and then after a while they're being shut down and they don't understand. I think what's really crucial is to report and come back and then say, okay, you know what, a month ago you let me try TypeScript instead of JavaScript, now this is the progress we've made. By the way, we've seen those problems and we wouldn't have seen them with JavaScript. And not only report to your manager, but also report to the people around you and explain, okay, we've done that, we have achieved this, now we're getting there. And if you find ways to do that in public, then you create a reality, right? You create something that is just, it exists. And I think that's very powerful. I don't remember how it's called, but we were using sometimes there was like lunches where we could just sit and we could come and talk at the lunch saying, okay, we've been doing that. And there's like 50 people in front of you. For them, Kotlin is already in production. So it's just a story that's already done. Few things that I think they use that at ING, but I picked up later. I didn't know about that can be really a good ally as well. Tech radar. Does anyone not know what a tech radar is? Okay. So the tech radar is like, it comes from, I think ThoughtWorks at the beginning. It's basically like a map of all of the technologies you use based on different levels of adoption. So you can basically be saying, okay, I'm assessing a tool, like I'm not even trying it, or I'm trying it. Now we're actually agree with using it, so we're using it a lot, or we're phasing it out. And if you do that for all the technologies in your company, you can have something like this. And it helps because it's visible for everyone. And they can go on the tech radar and see, okay, we're using .NET, but we're phasing out Fortify. And so what I'm trying to say here is if you manage to say, okay, it's a small experiment, put it in there, then it becomes a reality again for everybody, right? Kotlin is in adoption mode, and you find allies that you didn't even know because they are seeing that pop up as well. They're being aware. So you create engagement around that. And another one that I've learned about later as well is ADRs. I've heard that this is an elastic one because I'm not allowed to disclose the ID and stuff. But you create ADR is basically a proposal, right? It's a proposal that you write in a format that's typically looking like this, and you say, okay, I'm proposing that we start using Kotlin for anything that is not business critical for that reason, that reason, that reason. And again, I think what it does here, it makes the implicit explicit. And by doing that, you can find support around, and it creates structure, and it makes it look stronger as a proposition. So if you can use this kind of format, if your company uses ADR, create that, because that's also something that's comfortable for people. They're like, it's less scary because they know the format, right? Okay, switching point. What is the second most used JVM language in the world? According to Snyk. That would be Kotlin, apparently. So let's be clear. This is a sample from the people who have answered the survey. But what I'm trying to say here is if you're trying to convince someone, use numbers from other people who happen to be, how do you call that, reliable or people trustworthy, and use numbers that are in your favor. Whatever, of course, don't bend the story around it, but that can support your case. So you say, hey, by the way, did you see that? Kotlin just went ahead in front of Groovy, so why not us? Like, we're lagging behind. And one thing that I want to say as well is, depending who you speak to, remember that they don't care about the same thing as you, right? So what your colleague cares about is probably the features. What your manager cares about is probably risk, or maybe what gets them promoted, or safety, or achieving the objectives. There's different. So what I'm trying to say is, your same story, you have to tell it different depending who you're speaking to. And we'll come back to that later. But when you start presenting your story, remember there is no wrong question. Never take anyone and say that's kind of bad question. There's no wrong question, because if they're asking you a question, they're interested. So we're actually kind of winning them. All right, I know it's going all directions, but this has been also crucial for us. Find your heroes. I think it really, really helps. See if you have someone supporting you actively and voicely, and especially if they're above, up the chain. But it doesn't have to be your direct management. Maybe you can find sidelines that are supporting you. For us, back in the time, there was marketing, not marketing, how are they called? Tech recruitment. Tech recruitment, they were really trying to get new talent in, right? They were going at conferences and they would be searching for good stories. And of course, they know we're still on Java 8. But then if you give them the Kotlin story, you can get them excited and you can allow them to have nice stories to tell. So we were having a lot of support. Every time they heard Kotlin, they were like, oh, let me write about it. And then if you start having content around that stuff, again, that supports your story. So find your heroes and remember that they're not always next to you. Maybe it's infrastructure. If you want to use Rust instead of, I don't know, maybe your friend is infrastructure at that point. It can be something to look into. Yes, one thing that I love to use all the time is, again, creating your own reality. If you want to bring something in, just make sure that it's in. I'm trying really hard, it's on camera, to bring test containers inside the company right now. What do? Every time someone from the test atomic jar is in the house, I just bring him inside Adyen. And that's the same. That's Trisha G. She's not at JetBrains anymore, but I was one of the JetBrains developer advocate. And she came and she gave 2 talks or 4 talks that day. And she talked to us about Kotlin. And then I was like, hey, you know what? Manager talking to him and saying, you should be in the room because there's JetBrains coming to talk about Kotlin. And when 100 people show up, it adds weight. And then if you start tweeting about that stuff, and ING tweets about it, and again, marketing makes a story of it, you make something very strong. I personally don't really care, but I know that, again, if you're someone who searches for reassurance, authority sometimes really works, and authority can take many forms. Back in the time, there was the Coursera thing. We said, okay, only people who have done the Coursera course can write Kotlin, but it's a course from JetBrains. It gives it gives power to your message. If you're trying to get Kubernetes inside a company, maybe doing a Kubernetes certification on your own time, you bring and you hey, I'm certified, then it also brings a lot of weight because people will trust you, right? And the GDE, Google Developer Experts, doesn't make us any better humans, but it really brings weight and kind of authority, right? If you say I'm a GDE, it means that Google kind of vouched you around the Kotlin story, so people trust you more. And sometimes title work. So I know at ING, for example, if you had an architect vouching for you, it helped a lot. And the last one is literally what we're doing now. It's basically just be vocal and make sure that you're carrying the story around, because that helps create your own reality. And you said you would pick that up. Succeed story.
Yeah, it's definitely. So about creating your own reality. I worked in a company before. It was a Java shop. And they were always, they were front runners. They were using bleeding edge technology. And the CTO of that company at one time said, we're not going to do Java anymore. Our first language is now Kotlin. We invited that guy, that CTO, to ING, and he was telling his story. He said, if you want to buy a product with us, it's going to be in Kotlin. If you want to divert from our basic stack, we can do that. But first language is Kotlin. You know, which gives really a sense of, okay, this is really happening, right? Everybody was in the room there. Okay, if this company, which is a respected Java company, is saying no Java from now on anymore, just Kotlin, you know, it gives weight. It's the new reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what happened.
And we're going to end up with this. Don't forget that you can't win all battles. So it's also okay to... You have to remember at some point that maybe you're pushing too hard, and don't be a zealot. Like maybe sometimes accept, okay, we're not going to go forward with it. Doesn't have to be a bad reason for it. Maybe there's a bad reason, but maybe try to go out of it without bad rap is a very good reason for it. Is because next time you want to build up the credibility, and if you've been a zealot, or if you've tried too hard, and if you try to force things, people will trust you less, or they will not be willing to help you next time.
Yeah. Don't be a fanboy.
That's also true. Well, but don't say it.
Don't say it. Everybody's a fanboy.
And we're gonna finish with a few questions we've had back in the time. I was saying there's no wrong questions. Those are questions they might sound a little weird, or they might sound maybe even stupid at some point. But they're not, because there's people trying to really understand at their own level. If we like Kotlin, like you want Kotlin, right? If we like Kotlin, why the fuck not Haskell and Rust, and then someone's going to be doing basic tomorrow? It's a very real question. Like if it was from someone high up and he was like, it's going to be chaos, mayhem. And I'm like, well, okay, true. But in that case, Kotlin is on a JVM, right? Where Java, Kotlin, they're interoperable. Our apps will still talk to each other. We're using the same security process with some minor tweaks. Haskell would be another story. So let's write together an ADR about what's allowed and what's not allowed. A question I get a lot somehow is, what about hiring? We can't find good Kotlin developers on the market. And it's interesting because on this one, you can just reverse it and say, 80% of the Java developers would die to do Kotlin tomorrow. So you're actually making it more interesting for your actual base. So it's not a problem of hiring, it's a retention problem now. People are leaving because of Kotlin. What if it dies? What if Kotlin is the next Groovy? That's a real risk. So the question is, how do you have mitigation plans? What are you going to do? And one of my favorite ones is Kotlin is this thing replacing AngularJS, right? Does it run on Firefox? And you're like, you have to remember who you're talking to. Maybe I was too technical at that moment, and I have to change my angle and try to explain something else. I think we can end up like this. Thank you very much.
No, that's it.